Well, hi friends. As I'm here at the self-sustainable country living retreat, I wanted to talk about actually um, food storage real quickly. And I've done a lot of videos on food storage, and you need to go back to my the source, because with this pandemic, there has been a lot of capitalization on food storage. When I'm not on YouTube a lot, but every now and then these ads will come up, or these homesteaders will be promoting, uh, these buckets of survival food, buckets of you know nutritious, prepared, like they're already prepared meals, freeze-dried foods that come in these survival buckets, and you can buy them in bulk, and they cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Hundreds. And I'm just going to tell you, friends, right now, you got to get back to the basics. You got to get back to the basics. The pandemic is trying to shake people awake. And so let's be shaken awake. Let's think about what is really going on here, because all those buckets of food that you think you need, that the survival foods, the ones that you can bury, you can keep in your, bury out in the woods, and because you're going to be fleeing your home one of these days, and you need a buried treasure of food, or you're stocking up your pantry with survival foods. You don't need these survival foods. I'm telling you, everything that you need first starts with educating yourself with how to not just, but how to look at every plant around here as edible and medicinal in purpose. God has given us the garden already. And if you don't know how to use the garden he has given us, then you better start learning. All the money in the world may be able to buy all those survival buckets. You may have them home delivered right now. You may have spent $1,000. And if you have, you've taken the bait. You've taken the bait, because you don't need to buy any of that stuff. And then the people who haven't bought it are sitting there scratching their head. It's like, well, what should I do? What should I do? I'm left unprepared, because I need these survival buckets of food and these special foods that last forever. Everything that you need is going to start right here, and it's going to be with God's wisdom. And he will give you the wisdom and discernment to go and utilize what he has created for us out there in nature. That means learning how to garden, learning how to preserve your food, learning the medicinal plants, learning the plants that are edible. Because once that pantry is empty of all the food that you have bought, there's going to be no replacing it. There's going to be no stores that are going to replace your food. So, but God has given us a creation that is restorative. He's given us the ability to garden, to grow our own food. I was just talking about to prepare for winter, when it comes to food. And you need to be smart, like, sales. If there's sales throughout the season, starting in spring, you have to take the seasonal fruit, buy it, and prepare it. If you live in the city and you don't have a homestead, okay, that's fine. But food will be coming in during different times of the season, and what you need to do is you need to purchase that fruit when it is at its peak. Like apples, you don't buy in the spring, you buy them in the fall, because that's when they're picked during the best time of the season. So that's when you buy apples, and that's when you can them and you make your apple sauces and you dehydrate them. If you don't have your own apple trees, you just go to the store. You'll find them in any farmer's market. Simple, simple, simple. Throughout the year, if you have, like a lot of neighborhoods, there's people who have fruit trees. They're so tired of picking that fruit. A lot of the fruit gets wasted and is out on the ground. So what you need to do is go to your neighbors and say, you know what? Would you like me to pick that fruit? And if I do, I'll can some, maybe make some jam or jelly for you, or make some grape juice out of these grapes that are rotting on the vine. A lot of people will be more than happy that you come in and you pick their fruit, because trees forever, and there's too much. There's too much of an abundance. So think outside the box when it comes to your food. But you have to put it up now, and you have to prepare now. And that's what we're trying to get across at this self-sustainable retreat. The other thing is, when we talk about buying a greenhouse, all these homesteaders, the greenhouses are the right way to go, but are they really? The cost of running a greenhouse can be very, very expensive. And what is your goal? Are you there to grow food for yourselves throughout the season? Okay, you can do that. Okay, right, let's say you do. But what are you growing in the greenhouse? A lot of it is still seasonal. To grow an eggplant during the winter is pretty hard. So you're still limited on the food that you're growing in the greenhouse. Costs time and energy to put into that greenhouse to grow the food. If you're either running it, heating it with kerosene, you're either heating it with wood or electricity. So now there's the burden of the cost to what? Grow some lettuce, to grow some kale, to maybe keep some other root vegetables in there. All right, so let's look on the flip side. If you're looking for nutrient-dense food to sustain your body and your health and your family during the off-season, why don't you just grow microgreens? You put them in a jar and you pour some water over it and you have nutrient-dense food, microgreens. So you see, you really don't need a greenhouse. The homesteaders that are maybe out there trying to convince you that in order to have a successful greenhouse, or a successful homestead, you need a greenhouse. No, you don't. Again, there's a lot of false information out there that is telling you need survival food, is telling you need greenhouses. All of this, my philosophy, and even on the homestead, was keep it simple. I don't know how many people kept saying, you need a greenhouse. And we thought the cost is too much. The heating it is too much. What we're growing, it doesn't make any sense. And you know what? Microgreens. You can do those all year round. They will blow any piece of kale or lettuce or spinach away because, again, they're nutrient dense. So you have to take everything, with a grain of salt. And you really have to think about it. So a thumbs down on the greenhouse unless you are doing it commercially. And for your starts in the spring, 100% plus return on starts. So you buy seeds in bulk and then you plant them in your greenhouse, and when those little starts start coming up, you can use them for your garden and then you can sell them. 100% return, 100%. So if you're looking for something financially, that's where a greenhouse is productive and doable. Okay, so these are some of the things that we were talking about at the conference, and I'm enjoying it. The gentleman who's talking right now is talking about winter gardening, and there's a lot of facets to that. But I was also kind of lending some of my experience on the homestead. And one of the things we forget, and this is what I just talked about at the beginning of the video, is that it's not just about your garden, not just about what you grow in your garden. I forage throughout the year. All year round, you need to be gathering for winter. All year round. All year round, you need to go out in the woods and you need to forage your berries when it's berry season. You need to forage whatever medicinal plants and whatever edible plants you can. You need to forage and you need to harvest them. And so when it comes to preparing for winter and building up a pantry, spring, summer, and fall, it's not going to stop. And so wherever you go, it's not just about what you grow in the garden. Only one key component to creating a sustainable homestead where you want to be all-inclusive of your food. You have to go out and consider this your forest right here. This is your forest. So you really have to learn the resources, the plants, the berries, the wild trees that are around that you can harvest throughout the year. And you need to be on top of that. And then you need to go out into your neighborhoods and make friends with your neighbor and figure out what they have that you don't have. It's great outreach, it's great fellowship, and it really brings us into one accord, help each other. And so whatever you lack in your homestead, don't worry about it. Maybe your neighbor down the road will have the plum tree that you need. Maybe the neighbor down the road will have the onions that you weren't able to grow. This is the key in creating a homestead and looking at food. So I tell you, I'm back in my element, and I wanted to share that. I'm going to post that today. Just a little bit of info, but you know what? I'm just going to say it again and again and again. I walk the walk, I talk the talk. Be careful where you get your information. There is so much misinformation right now on YouTube. People are, they're preaching something that you need to be very careful. You need to be very careful. So your source of your information may look good on the outside, but I'm telling you, God has a very simple plan, and I'm going to keep passing it on to you, friends. All right. God bless.